We have a lot of medicine circulating in the society uh, based on men. We always want to have the erection strong and a lot like that. Now they capitalize on the weak erection of men when it comes to jedi jedi. Now I want you to educate our viewers on the adverse effects of unrecommended drugs that people use to treat pie, even when they don't know if it's actually pie or not.
Now, the first thing is people must take note that whatever you put in your mouth, you have to be responsible for that thing. Now, being responsible for what you put in your mouth includes having detailed information about what you are putting in your mouth. For instance, we know some people are aware they are allergic to some food materials. If you know you are allergic to groundnut, for instance, it will be absolutely irresponsible of you to go ahead and eat groundnut. Now, when you are aware of what you are putting in your mouth, that is for the consumer. Now, for the producer, it is your responsibility to educate the consumer that this is what I am feeding you on, or what I am giving you. We have regulatory agencies, but God help us, some of these quack products still make their way to the consumer, because in every practice anyway, there is always quackery. It's difficult to rule that out.
Even in other climes.
Exactly. Apart from Nigeria, there is always quackery. It's always difficult to, get rid of quackery. But then that's why we have regulatory agencies. And thank God for the internet now. You can Google some of these things and know what is safe or what is not safe for you. One thing I always advise people against is the consumption of alcohol. Anything that they would extract with alcohol, because you need to be sure of the kind of alcohol they are using to extract these things, these plant materials. Now, there was a study that we conducted recently, and we found out that absolute laboratory ethanol was being used to extract plant products for jedi, not even for jedi alone, for some other diseases.
That's to make the plant product to extract so fast, but
Apart from making it extract fast, laboratory ethanol, if gotten in large quantity, seems to come cheaper. So the producer is probably, thinking of the profit they are going to make rather than the health of the consumer. So that's why at times you'd have a whole lot of, cases now. It's becoming endemic: kidney failure, major organs failure, vital organs failure. So it's becoming a major issue. Our regulatory agencies need to step up and step out and make sure that these things are being controlled, and quackery is brought to the barest minimum. I always tell people it is not the plant that is not safe. It is the lack of knowledge of the use of those plants that makes them unsafe. Because, Paracelsus said the difference between medicine and poison is in the quantity. The same thing applies to our plants anyway. If you are taking an overdose of pepper, you would know you have taken an overdose of pepper. Exactly. For goodness sake. Yeah, so it's the extraction media most of the time that results in some of these things. So what I advise people is, anything you are going to get to put in your mouth, make sure you get it from a trusted source.
why making your explanation earlier about the food that we eat that may help us to either prevent or manage PIE, you talked about fiber. And you also talked about the regular food that we eat: cassava. It's either we take gari, we take fufu, we take bread. Everything surrounds this. But now when it comes to fiber, can you give us, expatiate more on how we can use fiber to help our dietary system?
We all learned about balanced diet, right from elementary level. When you're eating, make sure that your food is more of 40% carbohydrate and 60% vegetables. Your body requirement or your lifestyle most of the time will determine the composition of your food. In this part of the world, it is very common to see like 80% carbohydrates and 20% vegetables. You would get fiber. Almost all our vegetables are very, very rich in fiber. Something like ewedu, for instance, it's very high in fiber. Almost all the grains that you find around are rich in fiber. All we need to do is take them in adequate quantity, such that it would not only give us the necessary nutrition, it would equally support our digestion. And then we need to also take enough water. An adult should take at least 3.5 to 4 liters of water on a daily basis. On a daily basis. So you can take it in divided quantity. At least for each meal, you should be taking about 750 mils of water. But you find people just taking about 200 mils of water and then 80% of carbohydrates and a little vegetable. There is no way that diet is going to be fine. And then people in this part of the world, we tend to eat late and we eat heavy. Heavy and late are two poisonous habits that kills people.